What is up, YouTube? Colin here, the WOW CEO, for another video. This one is about cheat meals. Now, I understand where these questions come from, and I struggle with these for years. You kind of look to somebody that's talking about a diet, and they almost become kind of a guru in your head. But let me just tell you, I'm not a guru. You shouldn't listen to, there's very few gurus that are worth listening to. So let's just remove that right now. Let's talk about the first principles of nutrition, and then that can kind of give you an idea of how to think about, is a cheat meal okay for you? Because really, it's for you. Is a cheat meal okay for you is not the same as whether is a cheat meal okay for me. And then what are the components of that cheat meal? How aggressive do you go or not aggressive? Is it like one cookie, or is it like binging for an entire Saturday and feeling like crap Sunday? Like, these are all the things that are very much a personal issue that you have to figure out. Then finally, are you someone that suffers from a certain autoimmune issue, or you have like celiac or some other intense response to certain foods, and you struggle with the fact that you literally feel like crap for an entire day or two? In that case, you just have to decide, is it worth it? Like, I know people for years that as they get into their 30s, they're like, I just don't want to drink anymore. I'm sick of feeling like crap. I'm sick of wasting an entire day. For me, I've only probably been hungover a couple times in my life. Every single time it happened, though, I thought, wow, here's one day of my life that I don't get back. I feel like crap. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work. Even just like staying awake and watching something on TV is miserable. I never want to feel like this again. It's not worth it to have one night of maybe fun, maybe not, to feel like this the next day. So why don't I just work on having fun without the alcohol? Okay, so let's talk about this. So Steven, he's commented on a few of my videos. I guess he's been watching a lot, I assume. But hey, Colin, as always, love your content. Keep it up. Had a question for you today. I'm an avid gym goer, love to weight train. I'm also a jiu-jitsu fighter. I need to start jiu-jitsu myself, actually. I'm in really good shape. I'm 6'3", 197, and I'm 12% body fat. So this guy is freaking pure muscle, basically. I am definitely envious of that. I have been relatively strict carnivore for about 4 months now, but as of late, Sundays, I've been using them as a cheat day. During that day, I consume some cookies, muffins, maybe some candy. I don't really feel too crappy from it, and it's only 1 day per week. I do not cheat even an ounce anyway, but Sundays. Do you see any problems with this in terms of my long-term health? Any information would help. Thanks, man. Yeah. So he basically answered the question for himself, and that's how I'm going to kind of talk about this. And I'm going to talk about specifically how to maybe audit your cheat days to make them a little less damaging, and how that seems to work for me. But he doesn't really feel crappy from it, and he only does it once per week, and then he doesn't cheat at all during the week. So here's a couple of things that we can run through, kind of a logic framework. If you cheat on Sundays, and it keeps you from not cheating the rest of the 6 days of the week, and that really works for you, it's strict, it's solid, etc. If that's better than never cheating for, like, let's say a month and then binging for a week, what do you think is going to be more damaging to your long-term health? I'm going to say without a doubt that the once a week cheat is going to be way less damaging for your health than doing like a multi-day binge or whatever. Okay? The human body is very resilient. We can take almost anything that we eat that has energy from it and process it, expel the toxins, and as a one-time thing, even just like one cigarette, like, you're not going to get cancer from one cigarette. You're not going to die from one cigarette or one this or one that or whatever. It's when you do it for long periods of time and consistently. So that being said, as my primary way to answer this for himself is, he says he doesn't feel bad, so that's the first metric. Okay. If it helps him maintain his diet, that's a second. Finally, my response to him, which we'll get to in a second, is maybe you could make your cheats a little bit better, right? Maybe you could, instead of going for like cookies and muffins and like, I don't know, Twinkies, like the really, really bad processed big food, go for like gluten-free, small local bakery stuff. Maybe get some organic candy, maybe get some like smart sweets and other things like that. Things that are, relatively lower carb or better ingredients, or maybe organic, like anything that is better than the like Oreos and the mass-produced, likely GMO, toxic vegetable oil-laden crap. Because that stuff will catch up with you over time, I believe. Okay, now let's break that down real quick. If you were eating straight sugar products instead of products with vegetable oil, I think long-term that the straight sugar products, granted, sounds like you're metabolically flexible and healthy and you're burning a lot of calories because you're very active, the sugar products, I believe, will do less damage. Okay, and let me explain that. It's very complex here. I don't want to get into this. I want this to be a short video. So when you eat fat calories, generally, all right, that fat kind of can get shuttled into fat cells. Like it's a process to convert it to energy, and it's not like glucose or sugar or anything like that just quickly, immediately get out of here. You know, when you eat fat calories, it's not the same process as eating something that converts to glucose immediately, like sugar and carbohydrates and starches. Okay. So fat is a longer process. And generally what happens is that fat has to go through that longer process. And one way or another, even if it's only a percentage of the fat you eat, that goes into your fat cells. It's just kind of like a natural pathway where it goes into fat and it doesn't go through the complex glucose process and whatever. And now, like when it comes to metabolism, I'm not an expert here. These are just a lot of bits and pieces I've been studying and reading about for years. This is something that's newer that I've been thinking about. You know, Ben Greenfield talks about this. Ted Nyman talks about this. The idea that if you eat a bunch of vegetable oils or you eat like cookies and muffins and they're very heavily processed, produced, they got a lot of fat from the polyunsaturated, things like that. The way I think about it now is when I eat these foods that have a lot of fat, I'm becoming those foods. So those foods are going to go into my body. They're going to go into my fat cells and into storage, and they're going to hang out there in the polyunsaturated omega-6, likely oxidized form. And then when those things kind of get burned off, I mean, even if they do, maybe they don't, then those toxins get released and I get oxidative stress and things like that. Okay? This is a very, very simplest understanding, but it is a good heuristic. If you eat things that are high fat, that are very, very bad fatty acids, and especially if they're oxidized seed oils and vegetable oils, you become those things. And I don't think we even quite understand how dangerous they can be. So a good book on this is Deep Nutrition. She talks about a lot of the dangers of vegetable oils and polyunsaturated, etc. I'm way more afraid of eating things with omega-6 polyunsaturated in those really bad seed and vegetable oils than I am eating something that was just like straight sugar or straight like candy with like almost no fat. Okay. So that's how I think about it from a damage perspective. Now, obviously, if I'm eating like mountains and mountains of sugar and then it goes to, the fructose goes to your liver, it gets full, you get fatty liver, things like that, you could run into problems here, even if it's only one day a week. So in that case, I recommend certain mitigation strategies while also just like maybe not going too crazy. You know, if you want to go crazy every so often and just like gorge yourself, and that's every few months, again, I think the body's resilient. You could even maybe make a case to say that that is good for you as long as your body doesn't like get destroyed, right? Some of us, if we do that, we're destroyed. It's definitely affecting our health. Someone like Michaela Peterson that was on the Ancestral Mind podcast, okay, get the podcast up here. She had, after going strict lion diet, which is just basically beef and salt, she had like a small jar of olives in olive oil. It flared up her symptoms for 21 days. Her arthritis came back, depression, like crazy, okay? For someone like her, I would never recommend she do a cheat day for the rest of her life. It just is what it is. She has that biology and she needs to protect her health. For everyone else, where that doesn't happen, where you could maybe make a case where you could maybe add a little bit of metabolic flexibility by throwing in some not so great foods every so often, that's great. This is purely a personal decision, though. That's the primary point here. This is a personal decision, and you have to weigh the factors. Now, let's get to my response, and then I'm going to let you go. Okay, so this is what I said. No problem at all. Life is for living. Enjoy it. And if it's within the confines of a solid strategy, I'm all for it. That said, you can do certain things to mitigate damage. You can go in the sun, move a bit that day, take a long walk, take some activated charcoal, which I do. We have it at Wild Foods. You can get it at wildfoods.co. Use code WildCEO. Help support the show, etc. Drink a lot of water, maybe a dash of ACV, apple cider vinegar. And if you can opt for better options like gluten-free sweets, cut it off, then you should do that. Like, for example, Rebel ice cream, like I said, maybe homemade gluten-free cookies from almond flour. Like, there's just a lot of ways to do this where you can take those standard junk foods you want to eat and you can find a healthier option that's going to do less damage, and that's also probably going to be more filling because you can make it from whole ingredients, and that's going to be better in every single way. You can also control so you don't have all those vegetable oils and those seed oils generally in those products. So that's my answer to this question. Should you cheat? Should you not? How to think about it, and hopefully, this should help you make a decision for yourself and kind of build a routine like he has. Like if it's every Sunday and it works for you, great. If it's once a week, great. If it's every other week, whatever. If it's just when you're traveling, you want to enjoy like a really nice restaurant, like it is for me, plus maybe like every so often, which I tend to do, and I don't have no shame around it or guilt around it. I've just accepted that sometimes I'm craving it. I might have some like Moose Tracks frozen yogurt, the Kemp's brand. Stuff's amazing. I'm going to have that sometimes. And like the problem I see though is people get really bad ideas and they get like nervous about it, and like maybe they worry about the effects. Maybe they worry that they're not being perfect. All that negative narration That's not good. It's just going to lead you more to doing that even more. And it's going to kind of remove a healthy relationship to your food and to eating not so great food and to your body, et cetera. So I highly recommend being conscious of that, not being too hard on yourself. In fact, don't be hard on yourself at all. Just get right back on the next day. And that's usually the best solution whenever we can, fall off or whatever. All right. I hope that was useful. If you have any strategies for this and cheat days and how to think about it, drop it in a comment below. I'll see you in the next one.